Hey there, Jamie from the JMT Mind Gym. How are you doing? I hope you're keeping very, very well. Welcome to this very short video on the topic of resilience. Now, resilience, and more than likely not in the way that you understand resilience or you've heard it spoken about before, or even the definition of resilience. And I too was very confused. Now, considering my background and historic relationship with resilience, I thought I completely understood this at a very visceral level and at a very unconscious and conscious level. I thought I really did understand the depths of resilience. Now, when we talk about resilience, a lot of times it gets confused with things like mental toughness, sustainability, tenacity, resolve, endurance, one's ability to endure. But it's actually very, very correlated to our ability to focus. Now, distraction and lack of focus is like what resilience is not. Now, one of the greatest definitions I have ever heard of resilience, and given my lived experience in this world, was from the New Zealand Special Air Service, the SAS psychologist, Alia Bojilova, who wrote the book, The Resilience Toolkit. And she was a psychologist in the SAS, and she fosters that resilience is one's ability to focus on what we believe is important until we get the opportunity to focus on what we believe is the most important. Now, initially that sounds like mind-bending language and relatively confusing, and you would be forgiven for falling into that trap as well. So I'll say it again, it's one's ability to focus on what we believe is important until we get the opportunity to focus on what we believe is really important. Now, on the thumbnail of this YouTube clip, I posted a picture of myself running the length of the United Kingdom with an 11-kilo backpack in the middle of winter. Back then, I thought I was resilient. I went through the Special Air Service, the Regiment Selection Course, the Direct Entry Selection Course. Again, thought I was resilient. Did 7.5 years in the Navy, believed, absolutely. If you had resilience in the dictionary and it was accompanied by a photo, you'd have a photo of my soccer ball head right next to it. Resilient. Every time I attempted a world record, of which I had to go at 15 different world records, from pull-ups to burpees to double unders to push-ups to running with a 20-kilo backpack, resilient. What I didn't understand is what I believed was resilience wasn't actually what was resilient. So let me explain what the theory that underpins resilience. So one's ability to focus on what we believe is important until we get the opportunity to focus on what we believe is important. Now, consider you were training for a marathon. Let's just hypothetically look at that. So the marathon is what's most important. Okay, we want to go and participate in the event. We want to do well in the event. And the marathon is the most important. That's the outcome. That's the objective. That's the end in mind. Now, resilience states we need to be able to focus on what's important until we get the opportunity to focus on what's most important. So if you think about preparing for something like a marathon, we've got to eat well. We've got to sleep well. We've got to manage stress well. We've got to hydrate well. We've got to supplement well. We've got to manage the complex systems of our family life, our professional life, our social life, and all these things whilst preparing for what we perceive as most important. So the theory underscores that we've got to be able to maintain focus, keep our attention on all these little moving parts and variables that are important in participating and completing a marathon, which is the most important. So it is one's ability to focus on what we perceive as important until we get the opportunity to focus on what we perceive is the most important, which would be that end event or that end outcome. Now, you can put this into any context, making $1 million in a financial year in your business. Okay, what's the things we've got to focus on until we get to that point? What's another one? There's so many different things you can look at. Any athletic sport that you're involved in, if you think about the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, Oceania Games, if you've got your event and you've got a date, that's the most important thing, is getting a result in that. So therefore, we want to focus on the process and the journey to get there until we can actually focus on what we perceive as most important. Now, in a world in 2026 that is just absolutely saturated with distractions, things fighting for our attention, it's very difficult to defend our attention. And so I'm going to share with you very quickly what is known as a reset structure. Now, this was founded by Gilbert Enocha, who is the performance psychologist for the New Zealand All Black rugby team. And he has been for about 27 years, I believe. And this little reset structure is perfect for maintaining focus. And there's 3 steps to this. I'm going to go through it very, very quickly. Know that if this wasn't a sort of a generalized example of this reset structure, and I was working one-on-one with an athlete or a professional or something like that, things would be much more specific. But here is a general broad brushstroke of how we implement the reset structure. So there's 3 steps. First, we catch it. Then 2, we check it. And 3, we change it or challenge it. So step number 1, we catch it, right? So I'll use the example of if I'm training for a marathon, right? And I start to get, I'm out for a run and I start to get these, let me just say, like overwhelming thoughts, or I'm really fatigued and I'm feeling quite miserable. Emotions are feedback mechanisms. Now, what's really important is that we feel the emotions, but we don't feed them. And probably the big thing we don't do is suppress them, repress them, try and ignore them, or pretend that they're not happening. So if I'm angry or I'm overwhelmed, there's no point pretending that it's something else. So acknowledgement is the important key. Acknowledge you're feeling a particular something, acknowledge it, and that is step number 1. So I'm going to catch it. I'm going to acknowledge it. If a duck quacks, it's a fucking duck. It's not a magpie, it's not a bin chicken, it's not a sparrow, it's a duck. So if I'm angry, overwhelmed, agitated, discontent, frustrated, lonely, sad, hungry, happy, acknowledge it. Step 1, catch it. Step number 2, we want to check it. And what we mean by check it is that the longer I stay in my head thinking about said feeling. So say I'm angry. Again, I'm running, I feel agitated, I'm tired, so I start to get angry. Now, if I keep focusing on the anger, what am I going to get? That's right, you're correct. I'm going to get more fucking anger, more frustration. The law of concentration tells us that when what we put our focus to, we put our energy to. And where we give our energy, we give our attention, and that's what we're going to experience. So we want to move and get out of the head and into the body. Now, sometimes it's as simple as, like if I was seated or if I was stationary, I could be where my feet are. I could ask myself in my mind, be where my feet are. I can press my big toes into the ground, do that 8 times. Right toe, left toe, right toe, left toe, right toe, left toe, right toe, left toe, right toe. Do that now. Press your big toe into the ground, push, 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 and you can be where your feet are. If you are where your feet are right now, where are you not? In here. The longer you hang out in this echo chamber, the more you're going to magnify and perpetuate the emotion or the feeling that you're feeding. So we want to feel the emotion, but we don't want to feed it. You can press your fingers like this. You can tap your thighs. Anything. Get out of the head and into the body. Okay, don't feed the feelings. I have an elite CrossFit athlete that I work with currently. He presses his fingers. He often finds that he compares himself, gets caught up in comparison. So if he starts to compare himself to another athlete, he acknowledges it. Rightio, here we go again. I'm looking at old mate over there. Look at the size of his biceps and his chest. Oh my God, he's looking strong. Straight away, all right, I'm comparing again. And then he presses his fingers like this 10 times to get him out of the head and into the body. So that's step 2. Step 2 is check it. So we've got step 1, catch it, acknowledge it. Step 2, check it, get out of the head, into the body, get very present. And step number 3 is change it or challenge it. Now, the easiest thing to do here is move 180 degrees in a different direction. So if I'm really angry or overwhelmed, I would just look for the opposite of anger. And the opposite of anger is happy. I look for where I can find happiness in my life in that moment. And even if you can't, look fucking harder, because it is always there. These polarities, these dichotomies, these contrasted feelings and emotions, they follow each other like a shadow. Hence, I can't know happiness unless I have understood and experienced sadness. I can't know loneliness without experiencing, comfort of being with others. So looking for that polarity, looking for that dichotomy, and even then distracting ourselves. If I give the example of the elite CrossFitter, if we're comparing and then we get out of we acknowledge we're comparing, get out of the head and into the body, start tapping the fingers. And the very next thing is, if I'm comparing myself to somebody else, why don't I just focus on myself? Why don't I just look at how strong my quads are? Look at how strong my biceps are. Why don't I think about my business and stay out of other people's business? And then I've gone 180 degrees from what I was doing before. So it's actually really quite simple. This is what maintains focus and keeps our attention on what's most important until we get the opportunity to focus on what is most important. If you like this video, please comment below, even share this video. If you have any questions whatsoever about how you can specifically utilize this tool in your own world and be more resilient, be more tenacious, and have a bit of psychological robustness, then please contact us through our YouTube channels. I'd love to have a chat. Have a great day.